Hello and welcome to Video Game Hangover. I'm Randy Dickinson and I'm in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
Hey, I'm DJ Ross. I am in Mountain View, California.
Each week on Video Game Hangover, we talk about the games that have been keeping us up at night. This week, that list includes Spelunky 2, Super Mario Galaxy, and Skully.
Oh, Skully.
Mulder.
Where's... Oh, okay, you beat me to it.
Yeah.
Been watching a lot of X-Files lately.
If only it was that Skully.
If only.
Yep, just striking out on her own.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
I would be up for that.
That's fine. Yep. Yeah, it's a different Skully.
As much as they do, like, such a good job of having those characters, they're pretty equal characters in terms of, like, importance on the X-Files. But when it comes down to it, it's really, like, Mulder's show. So I would love a Skully solo show or something, whatever that is.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like 20 years ago. Don't make a new one, but you know, it would have been cool at the time.
Yeah, I don't know what that show would be. I really, you kind of need that balance of
True.
10 years of her looking at spaceships flying away, going, I didn't see anything. It might have been a weather balloon, Mulder.
Yeah, it's really hysterical going back and watching them. And just noticing all the moments where she's just like, oh, came around the corner a second too late to just see definitive proof of aliens abducting people.
Yep, exactly. Just as the ship zipped away behind the clouds, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm. Yes, in college, Randy thought that was just infuriating, and now I just think it's delightful and hokey and fun. Yeah.
Oh, it's good.
Yeah, it's a good time. So did you get yourself a PS5 this week, DJ?
No, I did not.
I'm going to make a hard right from the X-Files to PlayStation.
Yeah. Right into video games.
Yeah. No, I did not. I didn't. This will be the first new console I've not gotten kind of on the first day in a long time.
Wow.
Yeah.
You were in day one on the PS4?
I was in day one on the PS4, yeah.
Oh. Do you remember I did not get a PS4 until the Pro came out several years later?
Yes, you were late to the party.
Yeah,
I mean, you just sort of arrived at the party just as it started happening, but yeah.
Was there? I don't remember how the first couple of years of PS4 went. Were they kind of sparse?
I think it was fine. I remember
it was fine.
Last week as the PS5 event was happening, I don't remember a single game that was in the PS4 launch. So I Googled PS4 launch games, and it was not a list of great memorable games.
I had that Killzone game.
Yeah.
Killzone, the next one.
I think I played some of that. Remember when Killzone was a thing?
No.
Yeah. There was a Need for Speed game in there.
Wow.
Yeah. Your Maddens, your Call of Duties. But yeah, I totally did not have to have that game on day one. I think the game that I spent the most amount of time with on PS4's launch was an indie game called Super Motherload that was like $5 to download.
I remember you talking about that.
All the power of the PS4 so I can play this tiny little, single developer game.
Well, I keep seeing people talking about, what are you looking forward to playing on your PS5? And they go, oh, well, have you seen that collection of great PS4 games they're coming out with?
That is a very cool deal. I think the PlayStation 4 collection that they're doing is awesome, and there's really, really good games in there. And if you somehow...
It's actually amazing, yeah.
Skipped the PS4 generation, that's a good deal. There's great games there to play. There's a ton of them, but,
People have been complaining that PS Plus has been just, slim pickings for a while now compared to what they used to give away.
Yeah.
But no, it's actually a pretty nice bonus if you never played any of those, or even if you only played a few of them.
Right, I agree. Yeah.
And Persona 5 is in there. That's going to keep you occupied for at least 80 hours.
Yeah. Yes, it's crazy that Persona 5 is in there. When they showed that Persona 5 was in the PlayStation Plus exclusive thing, I was like, it's never coming to the Switch. That'll never happen.
Yeah. It might. It's not the new one.
That's true. It's not Persona 6. Yeah.
Oh, no, I mean, it's the standard Persona 5. It's not whatever the super special Royal Edition
gotcha.
whatever came out later.
Oh, good observation. I didn't catch that.
Still making money on that one.
Right,
apparently.
yeah. Gotta cash in. But no, I think maybe like a lot of folks, there's just not a lot in that launch lineup that makes me think I need to spend $500, $400 if I don't want a disc drive on. No, is it the other way around? It's $300 and $400, right?
No, I think it's $400 and $500.
Okay, I'm confusing it with the Xbox then. I think. Yeah, there's just not enough there to justify having to have that on day one, you know? Plus, it's been kind of a crazy year, and probably shouldn't spend a lot of money on a video game console with no video games.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Not responsible.
No, it's hard for me to justify. I mean, I'm like you said, tend to be a little late to the party on these console launches. So maybe 2024 rolls around, PlayStation 5 Pro comes out. No, I'll take another look at it.
Yeah. And I want to play.
I was doing some stupid napkin math this week.
Yeah.
After the Sony event, because I had like this total like troll bait post ready to go on Twitter. So based on the currently known launch titles for PlayStation 5, and correct me if I'm wrong or if I'm leaving anything out, which are Demon Souls, Destruction All Stars, Devil May Cry 5, Fortnite, of course, Sackboy, and Spider-Man. I believe those are the currently known launch titles. The average age of those games is 3 years old.
Yeah. Spider-Man and
I have to admit, so Demon Souls is doing a lot of the is throwing off that average quite a bit there, because that game is quite old.
Yeah.
But it just struck me as like, oh man, we're really just getting a bunch of remakes and sequels for this launch.
Yeah. Well, that's part of the conversation in our Discord this week was, should I or should I not sort of pre-order? And not necessarily me, but other folks in the group as well. And I was like, just what, to play Fortnite? I mean, like, there's any number of devices I could play Fortnite on right now. I don't know why the PS5 version is special.
Yeah, I don't know why that needed to be a headline. I just kind of like, I think everybody assumed it would be on there.
It seems like a foregone conclusion that you would power it up on day one and Fortnite would already be there. Yeah.
Hey, maybe instead of spending $500 on a new iOS device, though, maybe you should switch over to the PS5.
Yeah, there you go.
Don't know how that situation's going to be looking in November.
Yeah, or if you just need a portable solution, keep playing it on your Switch.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. But I will wait. I want to play the Sackboy. I want to play... I almost called him Mario Morales. His name is Miles. I got Mario on the brain. But I do want to play that new Spider-Man thing, but it is also coming to the PS4, so there's no reason even to make the jump to PS5 on that.
Yeah, that was also surprising.
Yeah. So...
Horizon also. Weird.
Yes, yeah, I heard that as well. But that's not day one. I think that's later, right?
No, that'll be like years from now.
Yeah.
Maybe not that long, but you know.
But yeah, not enough there. I don't think so. And Miles and Sackboy will still be there if I get it in a year or whatever. So
true. Yes, you can just wait a little bit. That's always a very responsible choice.
Yeah. At least.
Anything else in that Sony presentation catch your eye?
I think
what's that? What? Wait.
Oops, sorry.
What did you say? You want me to just speculate for 45 minutes? On that 4-minute Final Fantasy trailer? Is that what I'm hearing?
It did not even occur to me. No, I think
It didn't occur to you?
No.
Oh, you said you tuned in late. You probably missed the Final Fantasy thing.
Yeah, and then I went back and watched it later because it was all anybody could talk about in the Discord for a day. Yeah. It's fine.
It's fine. You just made your peace with it.
Yeah. It's much like that trailer for the new Monster Hunter that they showed the next day, I think, at a different event. I was like, that's fine.
Yeah,
that's fine.
That's fine. They showed Monster Hunter Stories too. Yeah. I know you're a fan.
I was confused by that Monster Hunter Stories trailer. I was like, is this Zelda? What's happening? Yeah. And then it turns out that perhaps the monsters have been overhunted, and maybe you guys were kind of hurting the whole thing all along.
That was I thought the issue was that they were causing problems to all the humans trying to just live their lives in their little camp. I don't know. Wait, which game was that? The plot thread?
Which of the three Monster Hunter games? Oh, that is Stories 2, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, I thought that I caught something in there. It was like, oh man, all the Rathalos are disappearing.
Yes.
Like, wasn't that the point of all these other games? Sounds like we did it.
That's why we spent the last 20 years getting all of our friends together to hunt them down. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry. Yeah. So Final Fantasy, DJ, you have the floor.
So Final Fantasy XVI. You watched the trailer. A lot of people seem to be very happy with it. I thought it was so going into it, I thought it was actually a little bland. I didn't think it was a great trailer, to be honest. It had a very strictly fantasy / Game of Thrones look. Kind of everything was very muddy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that was my take on it too.
Yeah, which is interesting. It feels like everybody is saying like, oh, this is, a return to form for the series. But I feel like I disagree. Because to me, Final Fantasy has always been, it's been a lot of fantasy. But they managed to just, in the best cases, blend in some of that weird technology in there. Like got some robots and things.
Yeah. Which
is cool. And I didn't see any of that trailer. Which kind of stuck out to me. Because I don't know, I feel like that's kind of just, it's always been this series' signature thing, just this mix of fantasy and technology. But who knows? It's a very early trailer.
Right. Maybe they're open to suggestion. Maybe you need to send them an email and tell them to get some robots in there.
Maybe I should just send them an angry email.
They're just piecing it together from, pieces. So, yeah.
But what did get me excited was that after the trailer came out, there was, everybody was freaking out about it. Like, who is making this? It looks very different than all the previous Final Fantasies, or a lot of the recent ones anyway, like 13, 15, the 7 remake. And it turns out it's like a greatest hit of a lot of the team behind Final Fantasy XIV. They're getting to do their own kind of single player take on it, which is, I think, was very exciting.
Yeah.
So it's the producer from 14, Naoki Yoshida. He's only producing it this time. He's very clear. He's producer and director on 14, but he's, I guess, staying on the kind of business side of things this time. To his credit, I think he's done just an incredible job of like wrangling the team and kind of squeezing really good work out of everybody on the 14 side. So I feel like he's a great choice for this. I'm really excited to see what he does with it.
And 14 is the MMO, right? Just to clarify.
14, yes, is the online.
What's the one with the boy band?
No, that's 15.
Oh, okay.
See, this is why I was like, okay, there's nobody who looks like they're, there's no boy band in sight on this one. Right. So clearly a different team than the other one. But they have like one of the writers and directors from 14 working on this as well. The really weird addition is there is like a former Capcom staffer. I forget his name, but he worked on one of the Devil May Cry. I don't know if it was the most recent one, and also Dragon's Dogma. And if you remember in the trailer, there are all these scenes where it just looked like somebody, like the protagonist, I guess, was doing all these aerial combos on enemies. It looked like it came out of a Devil May Cry or Bayonetta game. It looked very, it was very action heavy.
Yeah, kind of flashy.
Compared to what I expect from a Final Fantasy game.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I'm open to that.
Sure.
I feel like I'm not really, not a huge Devil May Cry or Bayonetta fan. But I'm also not expecting this to just be a Devil May Cry game with the Final Fantasy label on it.
Yeah.
I wonder if, they're going to find a balance. Like, they're going to make something that kind of looks like a Devil May Cry game, but also it works for Final Fantasy fans, which sounds pretty good to me. That sounds like a good time.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, these games, and you can speak to it, obviously, in a much more informed manner than I can, have been trending much more kind of action-heavy as opposed to sort of RPG-heavy. Yeah,
I would have been floored if they had, cut from all the really exciting stuff going on in the trailer, and it was just, the four-person lineup, and it, launches into a turn-based battle against an enemy on the other side of the screen.
It suddenly became Fire Emblem, yeah.
Yeah. That would have been shocking. I can't really see the mainline series going back to that at this point, just because it's so much more visually exciting and impressive to have an action game, essentially, with people throwing fireballs and chopping people up with swords and all that in real time.
Yeah.
Which makes me a little sad, but that's fine. a big part of the series has always been about how it just reinvents itself with every new iteration. So if we're going to turn into an action RPG, then sure, why not?
Then embrace it, right? Yeah. There was I'm pivoting a little bit, but we were talking about Persona earlier in the show, and PAX Prime was supposed to happen last week, and it has been sort of happening in a virtual form for the last week or two. And one of the panels that was streaming, and unfortunately I didn't get to catch the panel, so I'm not sure what was decided there, was what do you want from a Persona 6? And some of the little comments that I read on Twitter were basically moving further in the direction of being an action-oriented rather than turn-based. And I was like, absolutely not. Do not do that. Nobody wants that.
I was going to say,
delete your account.
Persona has been delete your account. Persona has been holding it down the turn-based area. Exactly. It's like that and Dragon Quest,
keeping it alive.
Yeah, and plus they've got the Persona Muso or whatever, the Warriors game.
Right, yeah. If you want to run around and just slash and burn, then there is a game for that. Exactly. It doesn't have to be Persona 6. Yeah.
So definitely not in for an all-action Persona 6.
No, I'm not. This person on Twitter was. But I don't... I suspect maybe the community would probably lean more to my side of that argument.
Yeah, I would be shocked. I mean, because that would be quite a transformation.
Yes.
Like, you could kind of see Final Fantasy turning more action-based over the last few installments, but, like, if Persona 6 came out and it was just, like, Devil May Cry, you're like, what?
No.
We've missed a few steps from Persona 5 to here.
Yeah. I mean, it got me sort of thinking, at the very least, what would be my Persona 6 wish list, but I don't know. That's a tough one to sort of answer. I don't know, so much of what that sort of makes the Persona games endearing is this constant surprise of like, oh, I didn't expect it to be, Dayglow, neon, chaos, whatever. Yeah. So, I think they are, the experts are best left to sort of determine the direction of that thing. My take on it is maybe I would like to follow adults around instead of teenagers. I think that has sort of, I've grown a little weary of that in video games, and I, particularly in sort of, fantasy-based, turn-based RPG type games. I think there's the tweens are fairly well represented. Would it be interesting to have a group of adults together? And would it still be a Persona game?
That would be interesting. Yeah. I feel like that would be a hard sell for Japan.
Probably.
Just like the Japanese audience, because they love their teen RPG protagonists. But that would be very cool. I did really like the first Nier, you just played as an old dude. He wasn't that old. He was like middle age. He was a dad.
Yeah.
But I was like, this is great. This is such a cool character. I wish other games would take note.
Yeah, I think it would sort of allow Persona, story beats and routines that are a little, have echoes of previous games, but are specific to, a 20-something's lifestyle. Maybe it's sort of the grind of going to work and dealing with, social pressures from your coworkers and your boss, rather than teachers and school peers.
I could see that. Yeah. They could do a Persona cross a Gritzko combination.
Sure. Just the workplace grinding you down, man, and your only way to sort of feel alive is to hunt demons by night.
That'd be terrific. And then you could do the death metal karaoke.
The Shin Megami Tensei games, 4 specifically, excuse me, went in kind of that direction. The part 1 of that focused on a group of adults, and part 2 focused on teens. And the adult enterprise was so much more interesting and identifiable for me in my middle age.
I was going to ask, because wasn't... I felt like Persona, it was kind of the high school spin-off of that series, so they were more... I don't want to say adult oriented.
Yeah.
Sounds like something else. But there was like an older cast of characters in those, right?
Not exclusively, but as I think about it, sort of in general, yeah.
The protagonist of Final Fantasy XII was supposed to be like an older guy, but then they decided, I don't know, it didn't focus test well, so they just made it this obnoxious teenager.
No, really? That's a bummer.
Yeah. And when I say old, he was probably like 27.
Right, of course.
But like in JRPG terms, that's like It's an old guy.
Ancient. Yeah. Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to hijack your Final Fantasy thing, but
oh no, it's fine.
I thought it was interesting to sort of see both of these series kind of lurching into the future.
Yeah, I'm optimistic. I'm not even going to say cautiously optimistic because I'm been looking forward to like the 14 team. Obviously, they're very talented. I'm a huge fan of their stuff, but I want to see what happens when they make like a standalone single player thing.
Cool,
should be cool. So that was, I forget what else they showed up at the Sony thing. Honestly, that was like they opened with that, and I was like, oh man, it's happening.
Yeah.
And then the rest of it was like a lot of very PlayStation-y stuff.
Yeah. I mean, the big headline out of that presentation last week was release date and prices.
Yeah. That was fine.
And I think, yeah, the sort of the consensus seems to be, particularly when compared to the Xbox and their perspective on the next generation, priced accordingly and competitively. So, yeah, it's hard to be angry about those things. So yeah, I don't know. Who knows what the next gen of games will be. I think I've outgrown the need to sort of root for one team over the other. If there are good games, I will play them there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like it's just going to be a weird launch all around because, obviously I feel like there would be a lot more launch games that they were talking about if there was not a pandemic going on.
Oh, sure.
For most of the year.
Well, I mean, in both Microsoft and Sony have already sort of started kind of preparing people for the eventual drought and inavailability of consoles. I think Best Buy or somebody put out a statement that they had maybe exceeded their allotment, and some folks would be getting theirs past. It was Amazon getting their consoles after release date. Yeah, again, 2020 continues to take its toll on all of us in myriad ways. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to sort of see where this thing is at in November, and then if it looks any better or worse in a year.
Hopefully,
yeah.
Man, I hope it does. Until then, they've got all those PlayStation 4 games and Game Pass on the Xbox side of things.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is, let's be honest, that is enough for anyone. We don't need any new launch games.
Yeah, Game Pass.
Come back when you finish Persona 5.
We'll keep you busy. Yeah. Yeah. Well, this on a related note of having sort of an abundance of video games to play, Nintendo announced last week that they were shutting off production of the 2DS and the 3DS.
Well, that's very sad.
And that that they were going to continue to support games that had online functionality. They're going to keep the eShops open, et cetera, because there were more than 1,000 games on those consoles. I was like, that's a lot of video games. Holy cow. Yeah. I mean, I probably have 20 on a shelf I need to play, but not to mention whatever is sort of sitting downloaded from the eShop that has not been touched. But yeah, that's certainly a sad milestone.
Gotta keep that eShop open. I saw people freaking out like, oh man, they're discontinuing the 3DS. Gotta snap up all those games before they're impossible to find.
Right.
And here I am just like, oh, just download them. Like, don't pay $100 for these things on eBay or whatever. That is as long as the eShop stays up.
Right,
so
yeah.
I'm kind of counting on that staying up for a while.
I think Nintendo is too. They were very clear on saying they were keeping that alive for the short term.
Yeah. I mean, the Wii shop just shut down last year, right?
I believe you're right, yeah.
That was open for quite a while.
Yeah, and the Wii U eShop is still open.
Yeah, oh man, are there any more Wii U games that I want? I'm not sure. I guess I'll worry about that when the time comes.
Yeah, I have to browse into that one day and take a look. So, if I don't know, bring it up to current. What are we playing now? That was a lot of other stuff, but we have certainly been playing some games that are current and out.
That's our catchphrase, I think.
Playing games that are current and out.
Playing games that are current. That's us.
Yep.
A lot of games came out this week. It feels like. I'm still trying to play Moon, but I keep getting distracted by all these other things.
Spelunky came along to
I
distract
played some Spelunky too.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to talk about that, or you want to talk about other stuff?
Yeah, go ahead. Spelunky. It's probably what people are excited about anyways.
Okay. Let's. So Spelunky 2 came out.
I watched you play it.
You did, yes. A bunch of people joined in. That was exciting. I was streaming a little bit on launch day, I think.
I believe
That's
it
right,
was.
because I went into it and I knew next to nothing about how the game worked.
It was your very first run.
exciting.
I saw your very first Spelunky 2 death.
I don't remember what happened. Do you remember what killed me?
I don't. I think you were confused by what killed you because you went into like a book to look and see what it was.
Oh, yeah. So that's a recurring theme in this game. Just generally not understanding what's happening. How do I even talk about this game? I'm not sure. Just to set it up, so it kind of goes without saying, but Spelunky 2 is the sequel to Spelunky 1, which is one of my favorite games of all time. It is a kind of roguelike platformer. I feel like it was one of the first games that really like kind of popularized the new like roguelike craze, where you essentially are a little, a spelunker, little miner guy, and you're thrown into this series of randomly generated caves and jungles and whatnot. So every time you start up the game, it's a different map, and you just have to try and make your way to the bottom and beat the boss and collect as much gold and jewels as possible. But what made the first one so amazing, I mean, first of all, it was just so dangerous. They're just like enemies all over the place and traps and all these environmental hazards, and you had very little health and resources starting out. So a lot of it was just a very unforgiving learning process, trying to figure out how the game worked and understand what you're up against. And just as you played more of this, you would become more and more adept at dealing with everything that the game would throw at you, even though most of the time it was very unpredictable.
Yeah.
Which I thought was it was amazing. It was like super addictive to just be having a really good run, making it farther than you ever made it before. You're like, well, maybe I'll see the next area this time. Maybe I might even see the boss. And then just some crazy enemy pops up out of nowhere that you've never seen before and takes you out. You're just like, what was that? That I'm going to keep my eye out for that thing next time. So I played this a lot, and I got to the point where I feel like I was pretty good at it. Like I could make it fairly far in each run most of the time. And the other thing was there was this daily challenge thing.
Spelunky 1, you mean?
I'm still talking about Spelunky 1.
Gotcha.
Yes. Just trying to set the stage.
Okay.
The other thing that that was very innovative was there was this daily challenge mode where since every time you start the game, it generates a new random map. Like no playthrough was exactly the same because things would change every time. But what the daily did is you would start it up and you start out this specific like daily challenge mode from the menu, and it would give you the same map that it was giving to every other player that day. So it was kind of like this was the one mode where everybody kind of had equal footing. So you would run this one specific map, and at the end of it, you would get your score put up on a leaderboard and be like, oh yeah, so here's how everybody did on today's daily challenge. And that was very exciting. And kind of a cool thing, I watched a lot of people who would stream the daily challenge. I used to stream my daily challenge when kind of at the height of the popularity.
Yeah, and you still, these last couple of years, you've still continued to do that for Extra Life. If I remember correctly, yeah. You start your day with that. Yeah,
start and finish with the daily challenge. So anyway, by the end of it, I was like fairly good at. I think I finished most of. I don't want to say like most of the daily challenges that I went up against, because there were always like freak moments where you just land on a platform in the wrong way, or you didn't see an enemy on the other side of the screen and they would knock you into some spikes or something.
And you only get one shot at that?
Yeah, once you die, that's it. Then you're on the leaderboard forever for that day. But of course, you could always just start up a new run that wasn't ranked and continue to improve your Spelunky skills.
Right.
Anyway, so I played this game quite a bit to the point where I just felt like, I don't know, I just understood it inside and out. I felt like it's so well designed. Like a lot of the deaths that you run into feel like none of them feel unfair. It just feels like it's a matter of, oh, I got killed by this thing. Now I know about that thing and why it's dangerous and how to avoid it next time. And it was just so well designed. I felt like it was almost the perfect game. And why would they ever need to make a sequel to it? Because like, what could you possibly do to improve on this thing? But here we are. It's a sequel to Spelunky. It's here. It's real, and I guess the good news is it just feels like more Spelunky. One of my biggest fears about it is that they would try and do too much, and it would just feel like, I don't know, Spelunky Double Dash or something, where it's like, oh, this is not the game that I enjoyed playing for the last 100 hours or so.
It's Spelunky, but it's a third-person shooter now.
Right? Something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe there's like this zone where it's like different but not different enough. But if they just went completely wild with it, like if it was a different genre of game, that might be really fascinating. But what I really didn't want was just start up Spelunky 2 and it is, Spelunky gameplay, but with a different set of level packs or something like that. I don't know. But for the most part, it just feels very familiar. And I say that in a good way. So it just kind of feels like I'm playing classic Spelunky, but they have added a lot to it. And it's tough to talk about this because there's so much that's new in terms of like new enemies and items to get. If you wanted to break it down and say like the most noticeable new additions, you could probably say like there are a lot of like side rooms you can go into now that lead to, I don't know, different treasures or secret passages and stuff. There are like mounts you can ride on things. There are occasionally like kind of like quests in certain levels where you'll like run into a character who will ask you to do something and you can decide whether or not you want to do that. There are mini bosses occasionally, which is weird, but a lot of it is like there are just so many things that they've added onto the base game. It really feels like it. At the same time, it feels like Spelunky. It also feels like I just kind of have to learn how to play the game again. Like for instance, in Spelunky 1, like probably the first mistake anybody makes is they're just minding their own business and they just get murdered by a hidden arrow trap in the wall. And then you realize like, oh, I should watch out for those blocks that are going to shoot an arrow at me because that's not good. And you just recognize those things from that point on and you're good. So very quickly I learned to dodge those things in Spelunky 1. But for the first hour or 2 hours of Spelunky 2, I got killed by so many arrow traps, and it is just the exact same thing. Like, you just wander into its line of sight, and it shoots you with an arrow. And I don't know what it is. If it just, like, looks visually different enough from how they did in Spelunky 1, where, my kind of peripheral vision wasn't kicking in, or, if there's just so much else going on in the levels where I wasn't able to focus on these things as well. But for some reason, I was just getting murdered by arrow traps again. It was a very weird feeling to be playing this game and just falling for the same trick that I thought I had learned to avoid all those years ago.
Oh, that's great.
Generally, it feels much more difficult than Spelunky 1. And I think some of that is just because it's clearly a game made for Spelunky veterans. I feel like a lot of Spelunky players... I don't know if there's such thing as a casual Spelunky player. You're either like super into it and you know all the ins and outs of how the game works, or you're just like, you don't play it. I guess.
Well, because that's kind of the only way to really stay alive long enough to appreciate it, I suspect, right? Is that you have to lifestyle this thing.
Yeah.
You can't
ultimately you need to become the Spelunky master, or else you're not going to be able to progress after a certain point. Like, you're just constantly learning things about this game as you play it. So, like, a lot of that knowledge still applies to Spelunky 2, but like I was saying, there's so much new stuff, like new enemies and just weird things to be aware of, that it kind of just feels like I think I said this already, but I just have to learn how the game works again. Because as good as I am at Spelunky 1, it's just so much more stuff to keep track of in this game. Whether they're new enemies or new traps that, I feel like a lot of the new traps are much more hidden than they were in Spelunky 1. They're just very insidious. So you really have to be dialed in. I feel like maybe a little bit more than you had to be in Spelunky 1.
Oh, wow.
I'm not sure.
And you're just getting sensory overload anyways, because you're like, oh, I know how to do this. But meanwhile, there's, 40 new things shooting at you.
Yeah, like the first few sessions I played, I was playing very cautiously because I knew there was going to be a bunch of just unexpected stuff. Like, I remember the very first run I did, I started it up and it looks very much like the first area in Spelunky 1, where you're just in an underground cave and there are like rocks and bone piles all over the place. But then right in front of me, there was like a little kind of burrowing thing in the wall, and I couldn't tell what it was. It just looked like there was dirt moving around because something was digging behind it. And I was just like, what is this? This wasn't a Spelunky 1 at all. I don't even know what that is. But for the first few hours, it was just like that sensation over and over again, where I just run into this thing and be like, I've never seen this before. I don't know really what the properties of this thing is. Is it friendly? Can I like jump on it? I don't know.
It's I guess the guidebook then that you were consulting after the death that I saw must be something that the game kind of collects all of your encounters in, right?
Yeah, the guidebook is really good because it's just an index of everything that's in the game, whether it's like an item or a trap or an enemy. So one thing you can do is whenever you die, you just hit the it's like the touchpad button on the PS4, and it'll bring up whatever killed you, basically. Or whenever you pick up an item, you can do the same thing. It will give you a brief description of what it is. It's not like the most exhaustive description of what it is, but it can provide some insight occasionally.
Or at least answer what the hell was that.
Yeah. At least give me the name.
Give
of that
it a
thing
name,
so
exactly.
I can complain about it.
Right.
So it's been very slow, just learning experience. And I felt like I was just taking ages to get out of the first area again because I was like playing it very cautiously, and feel like I was just not seeing much of the game because I was taking so long on the early areas. But since then, I feel like I've gotten a little more confident, gotten a little more experience with it, and I'm starting to get into the later areas. But still, it's just, man, there's so much going on. I feel like at times there might be a little too much because like Spelunky 1 had a really great rhythm, or at least after the point where I kind of figured out how everything worked, where I could just like zoom through some of the earlier levels until it got really treacherous. But in this one, there's just so much stuff. There's like, I feel like there's just more going on in the environments than there was in Spelunky 1, which is interesting because you have to pay attention to a lot more stuff. But at the same time, it's kind of like, it's a little exhausting sometimes. Like sometimes you just have to go slowly and just worry about stuff approaching you from all over the screen. And I feel like if I have one complaint about it at this point, it's that maybe there's just too much going on, or maybe this will change after a few hundred more hours. But I don't know. It just feels like there's a lot to deal with. Maybe this is just because it's intended for Spelunky veterans to play,
right?
But it's intense. It's an intense experience.
Do you I don't know, do you feel like it still has the thing that made Spelunky 1 so addictive and critical?
Yeah, no, it definitely does. Like I'm definitely enjoying, like every time I die, I'm just like, oh man, I learned something and I can get back to it
one more time. Yeah, exactly.
The next time. Yeah, so it's very easy. Like I'll immediately start up another run. But I don't know if it's just because I'm still yeah. If it's just I'm still in the kind of learning phase, but it just feels like, oh man, I'm just not making great progress in this game at this point, or I'm still bringing my skills back up to speed, which is weird because I felt like I was just like pretty good at Spelunky 1, and this has been kind of a wake up call. Like, oh man, you need to reset your expectations a little bit.
You know nothing.
Yeah. Oh man, I've been trying to avoid kind of spoilers for the later areas and things because a lot of the enjoyment is just running into unexpected stuff and getting killed by it and being like, oh no, what is this? I hope I can get back to that point so I can run into that thing and maybe understand it a little better the next time. But at this point, I'm kind of feel like, at some point I was just watching Spelunky 1 streams on Twitch or YouTube videos to just see how other people are enjoying the game. So I'm allowing myself to do that now. I'm a little more open to just seeing what is awaiting later on.
Cool. Yeah, there was something, like 2 or 3 days after it came out, there was somebody who did a complete Spelunky 2 run in something like 8 minutes. And it was the fastest known completion of the game that had only been out for a few days at that point. And I was like, oh, either DJ's fascinated or angry. I wasn't sure where you were going to go based on that information. Yeah. What is your take on that? Are you excited that people have zoomed to the end that quickly, or does that?
That's fine.
Yeah.
I kind of expected somebody to do that. I wouldn't have been surprised if, somebody loads it up for the first time and they just get to the end on that run, which I haven't heard of happening, but I feel like, while it's very unlikely, it's possible. But, it's been a while since Spelunky 1 came out. And since then, the community has just gotten crazy with all the speedrunning strats that they'll do. A lot of people will use, I think in the one run you're talking about, they use the teleporter a lot, which is just I won't even touch that thing because it's ridiculous.
Well, because I guess the hook with it is that you don't necessarily have control over where it teleports you to.
Yeah, I don't know how much control you have. It does feel like there's a great deal of just randomness to it.
Yeah.
So that's the reason I don't want to mess with it really, because I was in Spelunky 1, and it's kind of, it's one of those items where it's this fun thing to pick up and play around with a little bit, but then the more you use it, it's just the more likely it becomes that you will teleport yourself into a wall or into a pool of lava or something. You will just kill yourself.
Yeah.
But I'm totally not surprised. Of course, somebody came out and just did a teleporter run and finished the game in 8 minutes or whatever in the first week. I would be disappointed if that didn't happen.
Well, good. Excellent.
So it's interesting. It feels like they, I keep saying they, but it's really, so Derek Yu, the creator, I should be speaking of him since he's the kind of the evil mastermind behind all the new traps and things. But it feels like he has thrown in enough, he had to throw in all the stuff to keep the veterans occupied. So they didn't, not everybody just breezes through it in the first week. So to that end, I think it's very satisfying because if I had finished it already, then maybe I would have been disappointed because I don't know. It feels like it probably took me weeks or months to finish Spelunky 1. And if I just blasted through everything, the first week Spelunky 2 was out, I don't know, that would feel a little weird.
Right. Absolutely.
I am really looking forward to, eventually finishing it. But one of the cool things about Spelunky 1 was that there are all these weird little hidden side quests and secrets. There was a whole secret hell level after the normal last boss that you had to do this weird obscure list of things to even access. So that's the kind of stuff I'm looking forward to seeing people discover, where it's oh man, if you have this item and you take it to this level and do this weird thing with it, crazy stuff will happen.
Oh, excellent.
I really hope that there is just it's packed with that sort of stuff, because I think that was one of the very cool kind of hidden surprises in Spelunky 1. But I am not even close to getting to that point yet. There are you start to pick up some of the same items that would lead you down that secret path in Spelunky 1. Those items reappear in Spelunky 2, so occasionally I'll just find one and be oh, this is for this hidden quest. But a lot of the time I won't even bother, because I'm just there's no way I'm going to get all the way through this hidden quest this time, because I'm just going to get splattered by some weird new monster. So a lot of the time I feel I'm just trying to survive, and I'll worry about the secret stuff later.
Right. Yeah, when you can sort of breeze to that final level, then maybe start collecting the things that you need to go beyond it, right?
Yeah. I just want to see kind of the normal route through, see everything on that type of playthrough, and then I'll worry about this time I'll go to the black market or find one of these other hidden paths through or something like that.
Cool. Yeah, I was I not enamored with Spelunky 1. I tried to play it. I don't get the appeal of the whole roguelike thing. But watching you play Spelunky 2 was kind of fun because you make it seem fast and effortless, and you kept doing things where I was sort of oh, where did he get a bomb? Or how did he kill that guy? I just didn't, if you were narrating and sort of explaining your thought process as you went, I think it would be more educational, but I know you weren't there necessarily to educate. So it was very, it was satisfying to watch somebody who knew what they were doing. And the irony is that it was your first run.
Well, I was going to say, so usually when I was seeing Spelunky 1, I would try and just like vocalize my whole thought process, because that's what my favorite Spelunky streamers would do.
Oh,
Because like when it comes down to it, you have to make so many critical decisions constantly in this game. Like, because you start out with so few resources, and at certain points you have to say like, oh, should I go this way and use one of my like precious ropes, or do I use one of my bombs to get through this wall to get the item that's back here, or should I save that bomb for later? Should I risk going this path where there are all these dangerous enemies, but it's a shorter path to the exit?
Mm-hmm.
So that sort of stuff you're just thinking about all the time. So it's really fascinating to me when somebody is just walking you through all the choices they're making. But like you said, I didn't know what was going on most of the time, since it was just my first day with the game. So I hope to, I'll probably do some more streams later on.
Cool.
Going forward, because I plan to play this thing for months.
Good. I'm intrigued by the sort of the phenomena of Spelunky. I like things that have secrets and layers. The more I play Slay the Spire, the more I wonder like what other games kind of push that button. And I think Spelunky probably does that for you. Because there is sort of a rhythm and a risk reward kind of thrill that comes from a good run of Slay the Spire, that I suspect probably the Spelunky folks probably sort of engineered into the game from day one. So I appreciate Spelunky. I don't have fun playing it.
Yeah, well, that's fine, because there's still Slay the Spire.
Right, exactly, yeah. But good.
That's a good comparison, actually. There's a whole lot of like, man, I forget what the items you collect in that game are, but there's the whole secret extra boss in the end of that.
In Slay the Spire.
Very similar to how Spelunky works.
Yeah,
Slay the Spire.
Yeah. Yeah, and I always feel like sort of I'm getting through almost everything I do in Slay the Spire by the skin of my teeth. Where it feels like, you have, like you said, very limited resources, and you're trying to decide, do I use it now? Do I use it later? What if I don't need it later? What if I don't live long enough to use it later? It'd be a shame if I didn't use it now. Yeah, just really kind of talking yourself into and out of those decisions. I dig that stuff. I love that. But I can see that sort of that exists in some format in Spelunky.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, a lot of it is just like, I think a lot of my best runs are not necessarily the ones that where I have like the most resources and equipment, and that always helps. But after a certain point, you just become more comfortable with like getting to the later stages, and you don't have that much health or resources because you've been making other better choices that didn't take you down that path.
Right. Yeah, I think.
But for now, I'm still just grabbing as much health and bombs and ropes as I can, because I'm just like, I need all these tools to survive.
Right. Well, that was my kind of instinct in the beginning of Slay the Spire, which is a collectible card game for our listeners who don't know it. And my thought process early on was, I want all the cards. Give me every single one, because I want all of these options. But the more you play it, the more you learn that you need to curate that deck. You need to be super efficient and super lean with what you carry into each encounter, because you're trying to sort of control the randomness of it. And I feel like probably the tools in Spelunky too help with that as well.
Yeah, it's not quite the same, because in Slay the Spire, it does really become a problem if you just have too many cards, or if you have the wrong cards. But in Spelunky, it feels more like most other roguelikes, where you just slowly accumulate more equipment and resources if you're playing well, to the point where you're just much better equipped to tackle the final stages.
Gotcha.
Because you put in all this work, and hopefully you've been making smart decisions along the way.
About how to use those things, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Well, good. I dig it.
Nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm actually really pleased with it so far. A few of the streamers I've been watching are a little more lukewarm than I am, but I can't tell. I mean, it's hard to tell at this point, because it's only been out for a week. Like how much of the reservations people have are because they just don't like it as much as Spelunky one, or if it's like this new thing that they're still kind of unpacking. Because there is a lot going on. It's like a lot of it feels fairly different from the first one.
And it's going to be jarring to sort of feel like I know my way around Spelunky, and then the sequel comes out and you feel like you have no control over it. You don't know what's going on. So there must be a bit of an ego hit that comes with that.
it's a little humbling. Like a lot of the runs I'm having, I'm just like, why am I not getting as far as I did in Spelunky 1?
Why am I bad at this?
Yeah, even over the last few days of playing this, I've been able to get into like the second area a lot more consistently, and I've been not dying to as many stupid traps as I was in the first few hours. So there's definitely progress being made. It's just nothing happens overnight, which is exciting. I feel like it's kind of a long-term goal.
Yeah, it'd be disappointing if it happened overnight.
Yeah.
Well, good.
Anyway,
yeah.
So that's very cool. What have you been playing?
So I've been playing this game. Some of this game, Skully.
Oh right, yeah.
Yeah. It's a platformer. It's you are a skull, and you are on an island, controlled by 4 sort of gods that don't like each other. They're related, and they're having battles between each other for control of the island. And you get recruited by one of the family members to help sort of reunite the 4 gods that are fighting over this island. And but you're just a skull. You're just a disembodied skull. So you don't have arms or legs or physicality or anything. You just roll everywhere.
What happens to the rest of your body?
I don't know if you get that later in the game. I'm not sure if there's a story there or you're just not supposed to ask that question. Yeah, I'm not sure. But yeah, so the challenge comes from you making your way around this island, avoiding obstacles, doing some platforming, solving some puzzles, and just being a skull, rolling around everywhere, trying not to roll off the sides of things, roll into the water for too long, roll into lava, et cetera, et cetera. Things that, would make your life as a skull very difficult.
Oh, would it? Because you're already dead.
Yeah. Yeah, well, yeah, therein lies the irony of being a dead thing that can die. In fact, Skully is very fragile. He dies very easily.
I guess, yeah, if a skull falls into lava, that's not good for
Game over. Yeah, pretty much everything. Yeah.
It's everything, yeah.
It's not going to make a survival fall into lava. But Skully's not waterproof for some reason, and there's a lot of water early on. So you're constantly sort of getting wet, and it's taking a few, hairs off of your life bar. You do that a couple more times and you're dead. It is a game that is sort of high on the frustration scale and low on the fidelity scale. Like, it is a game that sort of requires a lot of really precise control and movement, but the tools don't exist for you to be able to do that. Like, the game isn't built to be played precisely, but it requires precision. So
it's like Fall Guys, but you're a skull.
It's like Fall Guys, but not fun.
Oh no!
Yeah. So
okay, I was waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Yeah.
This thing.
Yeah. So like you move super fast. Once Skully gets rolling, he's like blazing quick, because he's kind of a round thing. But then there'll be like quick turns, or there'll be like a zigzag in the road with water on both sides, and you don't like have the precision with your controller to be able to kind of navigate that well. So you'll dip a little into the water or something like that, and it'll take away from a little bit of your health. Or
is this like Marble Madness?
It's exactly like Marble Madness.
Oh man.
Yep. Yeah. That's a good point. Or you'll have a couple of steps that you have to ascend with water on one side, and you'll try to hop your little skull up and roll, to be able to get there. And then unfortunately you'll sort of roll off the side and die because you can't stop fast enough, or you can't move quick enough, or you can't jump high enough, and you'll bounce off the lip of the step. And it feels like a game where I would want to go into the controls and tweak all of the turn speed and the XY axis and the jump height and like all of these things that need to sort of be better tweaked for however I want to consume a game. And the game has none of those things. There's nothing to be able to tweak. It is, you move at this speed and that is it. And if you don't like it, you will die.
What about gyro controls? Can you just turn that on?
I don't think that's there. No.
Man.
The game might benefit from that immensely, but one of the things that you also sort of have to suffer through is that the game has a really horrible camera.
That's not good.
Yeah, so you're trying to sort of like control Skully's like left right, but you're also trying to sort of babysit a shitty camera, and sometimes it'll go into like a fixed camera mode, where like Skully is rolling towards the camera, and again there's not enough sort of precision or consistency to all of this stuff to be able to kind of have fun with it.
Are you sure you're just not like? You're just not going too fast? Can you just move very slowly and deliberately through the levels?
Maybe I tried to sort of like just move the stick a little bit to be able to kind of move through stuff, and it's not fun.
And it just like shoots off, or it's too slow at that point.
Yeah. I mean, it wants to go fast, so it clearly, to me, it feels like it's not meant to be played that way. It just sort of it presupposes that you'll be better at controlling this rolling thing.
I was just trying to think of whenever I try to play like Marble Madness or some other, what other games are like that really, where you're just controlling a ball. Like, when you had to do the stupid gyro puzzles in Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
Remember those?
I do.
It was always just like, oh, if I just keep everything very, very calm and they take turns very slowly, this will all work out. But inevitably you end up just like swerving off in one direction and flying off the stage. And start all over again.
There's a lot of that in Skully. There's a lot of like frustration in sort of like cheap deaths and things like that, where you feel like, oh, I got lost behind the camera, or I reached the third platform on a triple jump, and I wasn't sure which direction to sort of roll from there, and I rolled off the side and died. So yeah, there's a lot of points in the time that I spent with it where I felt like, well, this would be much more fun if I felt like I had better control over what was going on. And that's not the same as, geez, I wish this game was easier. But if you're going to make a challenging game, at the very least, give your players the tools to be able to sort of cope with that, or at least sort of tweak it enough to be able to make it manageable. And it just did not come prepared to be played that way.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's too bad. It's always disappointing when it's like a game is just it's tough to play for technical reasons. Like the camera doesn't work that well.
Yeah.
That's a big one.
Yeah, that's a big bummer. And we'll talk about Mario a little bit later. And I think the Mario games, the older Mario games that I'm playing right now, suffer a bit from having really crappy old cameras. But Skully, we're on the topic. There's no excuse for a game that came out in 2020 to feel this kind of like half-assed.
Huh. Well, that's disappointing.
Yeah, so
I like the idea of somebody making a new Marble Madness style game. I feel like that is a rare thing.
Yeah, and I think it's what I'll share is that the developers sent me a couple of codes to play this game, so I used one of them. I offered one to you. You weren't interested, so I offered it up on our Discord. And Kiddo the cat from the Video Game Hangover Discord agreed to play it, and she shared some of her thoughts with me, and they were very similar. So we had nearly identical experiences playing this game. Because my first time with it, I was sort of like, maybe I'm just bad at this. Maybe it's not my type of game. She's a much more technical. She's one of the few people I know who's been through all of what's the name of the game that she beat for the backlog attack?
Well, she finished Cuphead.
Cuphead, there you go. One of the few human beings I know who's finished Cuphead. Is admittedly probably based on that criteria alone a better and more patient person than I am when it comes to video games. And she had a lot of the same frustrations. Her observation, I have some of the little notes that she sent me, is that she liked to look at the games. She thought arts, design, and graphics made her nostalgic for 90s platformers. And I can agree with that. It's again, you're a little skull that rolls around and solves puzzles. That's kind of cool and fun, right? I mean, how could that be bad? More games with skulls is cool with me. But she says that her frustration started because the game demands precision when there's just no way to get it. Skully in his rolling form is incredibly hard to control with no options for adjusting level of sensitivity. Ding.
That's crazy. I mean, that seems so weird because, it feels like an analog stick would be such a great match for that type of movement.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'll let you finish. I'm just
No, it's okay. I agree with you completely. So yeah, I mean, a lot of these things, obviously, we shared experiences on. She said that she can be a little thick-skulled when it comes to finishing video games, but after trying to complete the same small section of the game for about 3 hours, she looked up how long the game was, and it's about 10 hours. No. And she's like, with these controls, with the level design, with the crappy camera, and she actually had some weird glitching and stuff like that, just technical issues. She decided she wasn't going to play it anymore. So, like, all right, even for free, we cannot bring ourselves to get to the end of this game. So, I don't know if it's going to get fixed. I have no idea if there are patches in the work to address this. I'm not sure if this is the game the developers wanted to make and you're just supposed to deal with it. But neither Kiddo the Cat nor I would recommend Skully.
Oh, that's disappointing.
Yeah, it's I mean, I hate getting on here and ragging about a video game, particularly one that, people probably worked pretty hard on. Yeah, but
they just need to add like a story mode difficulty to it.
Yeah,
it'll be good.
Yeah, you give me a mile-long life bar, or just turn that crap off altogether. Just let me play without fear of death.
Yeah. Man, I could always kind of gauge how well I was enjoying a movie by how long it took me to look down at my watch in the movie theater and be like, how long is this thing? So I guess the equivalent is now heading over to how long to beat while you're playing a game, just being like, how much more of this is there?
And then going, nope, not going to see the end of this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, big thanks to Kiddo the Cat from Discord, from our Discord at Video Game Hangover, for being game to play this game and spending more time with it than even I did. Yeah, my apologies for making you play a broken game.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah.
Is this is not like an early access thing, right? This is out?
This is out. This is a $30 game.
Well,
yeah,
I don't know. Maybe the correct audience is out there somewhere.
Yeah,
the real hardcore like Marvel enthusiasts.
People looking for the next Marble Madness type game. Yeah. I don't know.
I keep bringing that up. I'm not even a huge Marble Madness fan, but it's always just been like such a compelling concept for a game. Just like, sure, why don't you just make tons of games like that?
Like a rolly thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm really looking forward to Skully, A Realm Reborn, when it comes out, relaunches later next year.
Yeah, I don't. It's so unfortunate that like accessibility is very trendy in game. Well, that's not unfortunate. It is. It's cool that accessibility is trendy in gaming right now, and that there are tons of games that come out that have little tweaks and dials and modifications that allow whatever type of gamer to sort of enjoy some type of experience with your game. It's surprising to me when I, take it as a foregone conclusion that I can go into the pause menu and tweak it to my liking and find that I don't have the ability to do that. So you have to assume it was a deliberate choice that this is the game that we made and you're going to play it the way that we want, or they just didn't have the resources to be able to do that kind of thing. Yeah, either of both of those are disappointing, I guess, but mostly it just means I'm never going to see the end of Skully.
Well, maybe, I don't know. He said it just came out, right? So maybe they are listening to feedback and maybe they'll make some adjustments after the excitement settles down following the launch.
Maybe.
Trying to stay optimistic here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. On the other hand.
Oh, that's too bad. Yeah. The rolling skull genre is those games are few and far between these days.
Yes. Yeah, this is not the Citizen Kane of that genre.
Oh no.
I've also been playing Super Mario Galaxy. We're running a little long, so I'll try to be efficient with this at this point. But the Super Mario 3D Collection, is that what it's called? Came out last week.
3D All-Stars Collection.
All-Stars, there you go. And that includes Super Mario 64 and Mario Sunshine. Yep. And Super Mario Galaxy. Galaxy is where I chose to start. It's the game on there that kind of appeals to me the most that I've not played any of. So I decided to jump into the most recent game in the collection. It's probably not surprising given my gaming history.
Right.
And I like it a lot. It's really good. I can see why people like this game.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good. You never played this at all before?
No. It looks familiar. Like, there were parts of it where I sort of like, did I play this before?
I feel like I've seen this guy before.
Yeah. This guy in the red overalls looks vaguely familiar. But I'm fairly certain I've not played it.
Okay.
Yeah. I really dig it. I think there's a lot of really interesting things going on here in terms of level design, in that you have Mario essentially bouncing from like galaxy to galaxy and planet to planet, and sometimes the planets are weird little cubes, and sometimes the planets are spheres kind of orbiting around each other, and sometimes it's a glass ball, and you have to find a way to jump down inside the glass ball, and inside of it it's just a 2D platformer like an old Mario game. And sort of the fun of the Mario Galaxy, as far as the time that I've spent with it thus far, which is quite a few hours. I had a busy weekend with Mario Galaxy.
Wow. I was going to say, it's only been out for like 2 days.
Yeah, I know. Is kind of wondering, like, you know, you sort of open up a new corner of the map. You open up a new observatory that allows you to see a different part of the galaxy, and then you travel to different sort of little planetoids and things like that in orbit. And just sort of wondering, like, what's the weird theme going to be? What's the bizarro level design concept for this corner of the galaxy? And kind of figuring out how to play it and how to sort of deal with the monsters there, and how to collect all the things you're trying to collect, because of course it is a Mario game. Yeah, it's really pretty ingenious. I remember having sort of this feeling playing Mario Odyssey when it came out, in that every new world in that was sort of like, what's the theme going to be? What's the fun, hook of this one going to be? And Galaxy absolutely has that like 100 times over, because it's all of these tiny little like little islands, almost little planetoids that you're sort of bouncing from one to the other, and each of them has their own bizarro little hook or game kind of built into exploring it.
Yeah. It's been a while since I played this one. I remember not being just immediately blown away by it, because I don't know, it was like I was kind of expecting another Mario 64, and it's not quite that. There's a weird mix of, if I remember this correctly, there's kind of like big galaxies that you go to that have a bunch of little objectives within them, and then there are a bunch of like little ones or little planets where it's kind of a one-off thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I had a tough time wrapping my head around that. It wasn't quite what I was expecting.
Got it. But
I am really excited to get back into it as part of this collection, because I feel like I enjoyed it when I played through it. I'd like to experience it again.
Yeah, some of that structure is a little off-putting, because it requires multiple playthroughs of the same areas. So you'll get sometimes you'll get a little mini galaxy that has a collection of planets in it, and you'll zip off to it, and you'll get the star that you're trying to collect. The big finale of it is getting the star bit from this thing and bring it back to the observatory. And the little toad there or whatever will be like, Mario, there's 2 more stars you can get, and you didn't know this before. They weren't accessible to you before, so you have to get back to that place, do some of the stuff that you did before in some of the places that you did it before with some of the same enemies that you did before, and find like a thing that's new. You have to find a new person who wants to talk to you, or a new door you didn't see before, or a little warp tube or something like that wasn't there before, and take that to the next extra section that will take you to that second star, and then sometimes to the third star and a fourth star, and you have to sort of lather, rinse, repeat those things over and over, and that is a little tedious.
Oh man, see, that's kind of like how Mario 64 worked, and I think Sunshine to a degree. I don't know if I found that as objectionable as you seem to. I feel like that would be like almost welcome, that you're going back to the same area, that it kind of exists, and there's just more stuff to do there.
It continues to evolve every time you go back to it.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of how Odyssey worked, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Except it wouldn't eject you every single time.
Right. Odyssey felt more like an open world game.
Yeah, which is kind of strange, just compared to all the other Mario games that are out there. I guess it's really the first one that did that style.
Yeah, it's the only one I can think of. But yeah, I dig it. I think the thing that I'm also sort of struggling with is that clearly this was a game that was made to be played on the Wii. So it...
I was going to ask, do you use the pointer at all?
Oh, it's awful. It's so bad.
It's awful. Okay.
So if you play it on this new Switch version, if you play it on your TV, it heavily suggests that you disconnect your left and right Joy-Con and play them like a Wiimote and a nunchuck, essentially. And you use the right one like a mouse pointer to like point at things in the environment, or like little star fragments will fall out of the sky, or you'll stomp an enemy and he'll explode into little star fragments. And Mario, you can sort of run Mario around and he can try to pick them up physically with his body, or you can just sort of swipe over them with the pointer from the right Joy-Con to collect them. And I didn't do it for long because it didn't feel intuitive. And then Sarah came home and she wanted to watch something on the TV, so I put it on handheld. And the solution for
you gotta give her the Joy-Con. I don't know how it works on this, but on the Wii one, you could have a second player,
the co-star,
and they would just be in control of the thing.
Yeah, I've not attempted that. We don't game well together.
Oh no. Well, maybe she should be player one.
There's a lot of yelling. We tried to play Snipper Clips, and I thought we were going to have to spend a week apart.
Oh, man. Okay.
But anyway, so playing it in handheld, all of that stuff that would require the pointer now is touchscreen.
Oh no.
So you're still controlling Mario with your left hand holding the full weight of the Switch, using the thumbstick to move him around, and you're also swiping on the screen with your right hand trying to collect all the little star fragments. And
that sounds like a disaster.
It sucks too. Yeah, it's terrible. And also, like, I caught my screen just sort of in the right light on the coffee table, and I was like, ugh, it's disgusting. In a time when you're trying to not touch anything in the universe, I keep putting my hands all over the beautiful screen of my Switch. And it's gross all the time now.
Well, that's fine. You're not like taking your Switch outside.
No,
people breathe on it.
I'm being funny, but yeah,
man, that's too bad. I remember I feel like the Wiimote and waggle controls just turned into a meme after a few years into the Wii's life cycle. But I remember them working pretty well in the original Galaxy release. Like I didn't really have an issue with it. It was kind of obnoxious. Like you just like shake the nunchuck or whatever he does like a spin jump. I think. There was like some move you had to, of course, do the waggle a little bit.
Right. And that is replaced now with a button press. You just hit Y and he does the spin move. So I'm not sure why they couldn't map like sucking up the fragments to another button. Stupid.
Yeah. It sounds like, man, that's too bad. But, if the rest of the collection is anything to go on, it feels like this is such like a bare bones port of everything. Not a lot of adjustments were made to adapt to the new hardware or whatever. It was like just enough so you weren't limited by not having the original controller or whatever, right. However these usually played.
Yeah, I think that what the observation is that they're not really even like upgrades or ports. They're just emulated, right? It's just running on an emulator. So you're really just running the old code sort of modified to play on the Switch. And so, yeah, there's not been a lot of sort of adjustments or concessions made to adjusting that Wii functionality to life on the Switch.
Which is too bad. I mean, there are a lot of different ways you can approach a retro collection like this. And this is the route that Nintendo went with. Yeah. Probably have some more stuff to say about this later on, because I played a little bit of 64 on Sunshine.
Oh, cool.
But not a whole lot. I'll probably come back to it on a future episode.
Excellent. Yeah, I'm having, despite these frustrations and some of these things feeling a little half-assed, I'm having a really good time exploring Galaxy, and playing with it. It's weird to play this back-to-back with the most recent Paper Mario, because the Paper Mario games are so chatty. Like, everybody wants to talk. Everybody's got really funny dialogue. I've talked about that before. When you get into Galaxy, everybody more or less has kind of a one line they'll say if you talk to them, and then there's no conversation to be had. So it's a much quieter and less chatty affair. It's more obviously sort of like traditional Mario exploration and running around, and less character driven. So yeah, that transition's a little jarring, but clearly they're two very different types of games.
Man, wait till you get to Mario Sunshine. It's been years since I played this, but I forgot that the game opens up with like this massive cutscene that is fully voiced by all the characters. I'm just like, why did they do this? Who is asking for this? I guess this was just the thing to do in like 2002 or whenever this game came out. But I was just like, oh, I don't remember this at all. This is horrible.
All right. Well, cool. Now I'm going to stick with this and keep poking through some of these games. I've got some experience with Sunshine. I have zero experience with 64, so I will continue to
I think
explore.
you'll find it frustrating, but I'm enjoying it quite a bit. Cool. Coming back to that.
You know what I do like about this collection? This will be my final thought again, because we're running a little long here, is that from the main menu of this Mario collection, you have like the 3 covers of the 3 video games that you can play in the collection, and you also have the 3 soundtracks that you can play kind of on a jukebox mode and listen to the entire soundtrack to all of these games right from the start menu, which I think is kind of fun and finally cool that Nintendo has understood that this stuff has value and that there are nerds like us who want to hear these soundtracks.
Yeah, it's great. I like that they've added all those soundtracks back in because, as we've talked about, it's so hard to find any of those soundtracks if you just want to listen to them outside of the game.
And the irony of the artwork, the way that it's sort of displayed on the start menu, is that it looks like a little CD case or like a little album jacket. And I'm like, there was never an album with the entire soundtrack.
That was especially good. Yeah, I had the exact same reaction. Yeah. I was like, oh, what is this a picture? Where did this album art come from?
Pretend you ever put this on an album, Nintendo. Yeah. So yeah, kind of bullshit. But hey, it's there and it exists, and that's kind of fun.
Right.
Yeah. Now I just need to find a way to sort of...
Yeah, just get it off the Switch somehow.
Transfer that music electronically to a device that I can carry around. Oh, wait, my Switch. That's my music player now.
Yeah. Just this enormous skateboard size screen that you carry with you.
Just prop it up on my shoulder and walk down the street. All right. I suppose we should wrap this up, right?
I think that's it.
If you need any more video game hangover in your brain, you should definitely follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/VGHangover. Or you can get show notes, links, and tell us what you thought about the episode at VGHangover.com. Man, we talk about our Discord a lot, and we would encourage you to come join us and hang out with us and talk about video games and assorted other, fun things that pop up on our radar. So you can get the link to that at VGHangover.com. We would encourage you to subscribe, rate, and review us on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and anywhere else you can listen to podcasts. We just found out that we are listed on Amazon Music now, too, which is pretty fun.
Yeah.
So we're anywhere you want to be when it comes to podcasts. What else? Tell your friends about the show, please.
Please do. Tell them, I don't know, tell them we finally talked about Mario Galaxy if they've been holding out to hear about that game.
Better late than never.
Yeah. Yep. Thanks again to Lemonectric for our intro and outro music this week. If you want to hear more of his stuff, just head on over to lemonectric.bandcamp.com.
Cool. Yeah. We will be back next week. Until then, this is Randy Dickinson.
This is DJ Ross.
Thanks for listening to Video Game Hangover. Goodbye.
Good night.
See ya.
That was so good. I was just like, oh man, this is bad.